Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, or whenever you're watching me right now. My name is Jay Luke, the owner and operator of the Passion Is Network, where we amplify the voices, elevate the culture, and champion the musician. Your boy just got back from Houston, man. The great city of Houston, great state of Texas. Yeah, boy just got back. I missed the city. But anyway, so when I was down there, I was reading a few things. I actually ran across a few things, and I was reading a few things, and then when I got back, man, I got sent something, and when it got sent to me, I can tell you right now that I was a little perplexed. The reason why was perplexed. And I just really feel like it's time for us, or I ain't gonna say it's time because I feel like we've had this conversation before, but I really feel like we've got to have this conversation again, and it's okay. We got to stop saying that. We've got to get to a point to where we stop saying that we're chasing the white man, right? We got to get to this point of you stop using that as and see, here's the thing. I don't even think that I don't even know why we throw that thought process or that insult out there, right? Here, I need for people to understand this. Everybody, please understand this. We are not a monolith. We don't all think the same. We don't all enjoy the same things, right? There's this band on TikTok. I can't think of the name of the band right now, right off the dome. But they're like these 4 or 5 black dudes, and they're an emo band. I can't think of it right now. I think they're dope, right? But I say all that to say the average black person would look at them, and well, specifically during when I was coming up, the average black person would look at them and say, yeah, they ain't like us. They not in our circle. And to be very honest, I'm pretty sure that they think the same way too. But my whole point in saying that is that doesn't mean that they're chasing white people. That just means that they may have a certain type of music or a certain type of thing that they're into that not all black people are into. And that's okay. Why do we get to this point of trying to call us negative names or trying to say that we're chasing another culture, which that's a whole, I ain't getting into that, but chasing another culture just because we don't all agree or look at the same thing the same way. I don't get that concept. Some people decide that they want to go to HBCUs or go to HBCUs just because they it's a multitude of reasons, right? I want to be around my people. That's perfectly fine. I want to be a part of a traditional style marching band. That's perfectly fine. It was close to the crib and I ain't really had that much bread and wasn't nobody giving me no scholarship. That's perfectly fine. My mama or my daddy made me go because they didn't want me to leave the city. That's perfectly fine. Right? There are reasons why people choose to go to HBCUs. I went to a particular school and nobody told me for real about a HBCU. So this is all that I know. That's perfectly fine. I just prefer to be, I'm going to use this term here from Drumline. Shout out to Jason Weaver that just got honorary KK Psi, but he was already honorary. Anyway, shout out to you, frat. Anyway, but I decided that I wanted to go to Georgia Tech instead of Atlanta A&T because that's just my stilo. That's perfectly fine. I thought or realized to myself that a degree from a predominantly white institution may put me further ahead than a degree from an HBCU. Not necessarily fully true, but if that's the choice, that's perfectly fine. I whatever a person's decision is or whatever the thing that they're into does not mean that they're chasing a specific thing over another thing. It just means that we all have choices in life, and that's the choice that we decide to make. It just is. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, I do believe that there are outliers in all of this, right? We can't sit here and act like those outliers don't exist. There are some people who just prefer to be around another race of people than your own race. And you see it happen in a multitude of different cultures, right? There are white people who feel more comfortable around black people than they do white people. There are black people who feel more comfortable around white people than black. There are black people who feel more comfortable around Asian people than black people. I mean, it's a thing. Like, it's nothing wrong with that, right? There are those outliers that do exist. But again, just because we all the same color don't mean we all think the same. And being judged or being called or labeled that just because we don't just is kind of weird to me. Here's the other part that that jumped out at me when I saw a couple of these posts, and it's actually a couple of these posts. It's not just one. Two things can be true at the same time, right? Every band doesn't sound good. And just because it's a band with a bunch of our people in it or led by a bunch of our people doesn't mean that it sounds good. I said it. Just because you crank up, just because it's aggressive, just because it got some stank on it, doesn't mean it's good. Because it can have some stank on it and be stanky. It just can. Like, let's be real. Like, when are we going to have that conversation that just because we're doing it and a lot of us are doing it doesn't mean that it's right or good? Right? The fundamentals of music and education and building programs and building music and all that kind of stuff, right? Just because you know those fundamentals don't mean you're doing them well. And then again, when you start thinking about the different versions of and genres of music that we have, everybody's not going to accept those versions or genres of music, right? But like we say all the time, a concert F is a concert F. A concert F in tune is a concert F in tune. And if your concert F is in tune or anything that you're playing is out of tune and the intonation is bad and the attacks and releases are bad and there's no dynamic contrast, some people will look at that and say, that's not good. And it's not. Now, let me also preface it by saying this. Not every PWI or band program that has a bunch of people that's not black in it is good either. But we also have to be realistic in the reality that two things can be true. Some things are good and some things are bad. I'll give you another thought process on this. Mass band is here to stay. Mass band ain't going nowhere. That's cool. Nothing wrong with it. Because over the years, for me, understanding, knowing or being a part of when mass band or seeing it specifically in Houston develop and then seeing where mass band is right now, there are some things that as an older person, I just didn't get. Right? And so we've had many conversations online on the show about mass band. And we have, right? But mass band ain't going nowhere. And that's fine. That's cool. Mass band can be a great thing. Mass band definitely keeps kids or takes kids who are currently in band programs, whether they be high school, college, and I'll go so far to even say middle school or whatever. It keeps them playing on their instruments. So that way the transition between coming out of school for the summer, going into school, or coming out of school in the summer and then going into school from the summer, it keeps them the continuity up. Not necessarily saying it is happening in a lot of mass bands, but again, there can be some education that is happening where kids are developing and they are getting better. Fine. There also is a reality of the fact that, yes, it keeps kids who will otherwise be doing something else or nothing at all off the streets. It keeps them busy. It keeps them active, so on and so forth. All these things I definitely agree with. 100%. But I have to be very honest. And this may be a secret. I don't know if it is a secret, but I need to make sure I need to make sure I share this. Not all mass bands sound good. And that's okay too. Just because all of those things are very positive, that does not mean that they all sound good. That does not mean that all of the fundamentals of what we talked about is for early, or what I said earlier about music education exist in all of these mass bands. That's okay. That doesn't mean that because somebody says that, they're chasing the white man. Here's another one. We have multiple HBCU. And first of all, the number of HBCU bands that exist are not equivalent to the number of HBCUs that are currently active right now. Meaning we have a small number of HBCU bands that exist. So let's be real. But the other half of that is, just because it's an HBCU band, the traditional style marching band, doesn't mean it sounds good. Shocker, I know. There are some that do. There are some that don't. And that's a reality that we all have to live with. Just because we're doing it and we're doing it together doesn't always mean it's either positive or that it's good. And that is okay. That doesn't mean that we're chasing the white man. That means we just have a preference. And that preference is okay. But we got to get to this point of saying, all right, this person has a preference over here. This person has a thought process over here. And I may not agree with it, but because I don't agree with it, that's cool. I'm objective to understand that we all have different thought processes. So, and you know what? Do me a favor, because here's the thing. We throw these labels out. Here's a label that I need for people to really define for me. Define the culture, right? Since people are chasing the white man, and we got to stick with the culture. Define the culture. Put it in the comment section, and I want to read what the culture is. Put it in there. So after you put it in there, I'll read it, because I always read the comments. I'll read it, and then I may come back with something. As a matter of fact, I may go live on a Patreon on Friday morning. I may go live on the Patreon, and we can go and dig into this further, and we can have a real conversation. As far as the Patreon is concerned, also, man, go ahead and sign up for the Patreon, man. We got some interviews coming up in the month of August. So the best time to sign up for the Patreon is at the beginning of the month and at the end of the month, because not only do we are we going to have some good interviews that are going to be coming out, man. I'm going to have some fun. I got some phenomenal interviews coming up, and I cannot wait for them. And I can't wait for you all to see them. Also, we also have the interview with Derek Walker and Iron in there as well. So you got to go check that out. But also, man, I'm going to be having some series in there, so you got to check that out as well. Giving game to music educators, band directors, and I'm talking about from if you just now walking in the classroom and you need this information to arranging, all of those things. All that stuff is inside of the Patreon. So I'm going to go live on Friday. We're going to talk about this live on Friday morning, having a deep dive conversation about this, and I don't want y'all to miss that. So go ahead and join the Passion Crew. Remember, the best time to join the Patreon is at the beginning of the month. Also, don't forget, man, you can get anything in our store for 30% off your purchase. All you got to do is type in HBCU band, man. Outside of that, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Y'all tell me what y'all think inside the comment section. Peace.